This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. I want to make it clear that this is not me telling you not to watch the Sponge on the Run movie. In fact, I encourage you to, and also I don't think I'm going to stop anyone. It is absolutely no secret to anybody that I'm an embarrassingly huge SpongeBob fan, but I don't think it'll come as a surprise to any of you that I'm really not a fan of the post-first movie SpongeBob. It really reminds me of current SNL, where it's so far off the deep end as far as quality is concerned. A lot of people still do enjoy it, and so it really feels like the people making it have no desire whatsoever to improve. I'll say this right off the bat, this reads like a grand finale to SpongeBob, which it kind of is. In some parts, it is very heartfelt in that way and definitely came close to making a lifelong SpongeBob fan like myself a little sad. But that didn't last more than 5 seconds most of the time, because this movie, like I said, is just weird. The plot is about SpongeBob and Patrick traveling to Atlantic City to solve the disappearance of Gary, which is not by any means a bad plot. They did the road trip thing once, they can do it again, but it's the stuff that happens within that makes this barely a movie. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I hate the celebrity cameos in this. It starts with Keanu as Sage. I'm sure you've seen the clips, which is an unfunny bit that goes on for way too long. It's like they're trying to make it trippy on purpose, and it doesn't work because rather than being a goofy add-on, he's like a big part of the plot. He's kind of the new Mindy in this movie. It's very obvious to me that they included him and many others to try and ride the wave, no pun intended, of David Hasselhoff in the first movie, which in my opinion is so tone deaf. David Hasselhoff's legendary cameo worked because one, it happened at the climax of the film after they had already come back to life and you thought the craziest parts were over, and two, because he didn't have that many lines. They truly just used the man as a boat. Whereas here, Keanu has entire speeches that hold on one tone and hold on for way too long. Not long after his introduction, we meet Snoop Dogg, who performs basically an entire song. I mean, it's not surprising that this is what Snoop is doing now. I can't imagine this man is financially stable. Like, it's a full music video 20 minutes into the movie. And in the same scene, they bring in Danny Trejo, who adds little to nothing. I really wanted to avoid using the word bad, but this is bad. This is not good filmmaking to just introduce celebrity cameos for the sake of having celebrity cameos and having them barely fit or serve any purpose to the core plot. David Hasselhoff saved the day in the first movie. These guys are getting in the way. Getting in the way is something I can say about a lot of things that happen in this movie. Anytime it feels like it's getting somewhere or doing something fun, it ruins it almost immediately. Sometimes all it takes is the music. The music in this movie makes no goddamn sense. It isn't SpongeBob at all. SpongeBob feels and sounds the way it is because of that Hawaiian-like sound that was in all of the early seasons and in the first movie. But here, right off the bat, they chose a generic family film score that you would hear in any Illumination movie, and it immediately reads as something that isn't SpongeBob, which is so confusing and weird to me because if you're making what is essentially one big reflective tribute, why are you not using the sound of the show? You're already drifting apart from the original style by using this new style of animation, which we'll get into in a bit, so why don't you just go back to that music? The only time this really feels like SpongeBob is in the 10-second tribute to Steven Hillenburg in the end of the movie where they play part of the theme song, but it does not take long for those whistles in the song to evolve into Agua by J Balvin, which I suppose isn't a bad song, but it's just weird. Why can't we have Ween? Like I said, I think now is a good time to bring up the animation, which for obvious reasons is probably the best part about the movie. Not only does it just look amazing, it looks completely new and original. It's actually a huge step up in my opinion from the second movie. I mean, this is an animation style that blends cartoon with realism in a way that's super fun to look at in my opinion. I wish it was for any other movie other than this one. Like, why didn't they just restylize Jimmy Neutron in this way? That would work so well. Not to sound like a SpongeBob purist, because I do think SpongeBob works in different animation styles, but peak SpongeBob in my opinion is in 2D, because it's a cartoon. I think the only way this benefits SpongeBob is by giving us a more realistic look in the insides of some of these settings, like the Krusty Krab and SpongeBob's house. And as iconic as those spaces are, nobody is craving a more immersive look at what it'd feel like to be in there, at least in a feature film format. We don't want that. We want bits and funny scenarios and creative little moments, things that the first movie were full of, which I'll admit this film has sometimes, but I'm mostly looping back to my argument that if this plot is serving as a reflective tribute, why are we choosing now to animate like this? It's probably because of the spin-off that they planned, which is totally marketed specifically for kids and feels completely separate and at this point not SpongeBob at all. Not to imply the original SpongeBob wasn't just for kids, but This has no chance of being entertaining for adults. Also, on a side note, apparently there's going to be a SpongeBob and Paw Patrol podcast? What, is SpongeBob going to read stamps.com ads now? Really? I guess this kind of explains the worst part of this movie. In the transition between the second and third act, you know, what should normally be the most exciting part of any movie, they instead get into what I can only describe as a courtroom scene where each character goes through a flashback and explains what they love about SpongeBob. It takes up a lot of time, it is uninteresting, it ruins the momentum of the film, it isn't funny, it shouldn't have happened. It's like Squidward made fun of this exact kind of ending in the first movie, and here they ride it out for upwards of 20 minutes. This is not why people like SpongeBob at all. Even as a diehard SpongeBob fan who feels an attachment to the characters, I do not give a fuck about Squidward saying he's always loved him, because the show has already done a great job at subtly explaining that many times in a humorous way, not through a shitty generic ass monologue that sounds like something a high school athlete in his senior year would say about his girlfriend, you know? And if we all do a little bit of thinking, we all can figure out that this was only in the movie as a way of getting people ready for that new spin-off. Isn't that just great? There's a scene in here where SpongeBob and Patrick go to a casino, and it's a montage where they kind of just blow all their money and sing Livin' La Vida Loca. Right off the bat, terrible, right? I don't even think I need to explain anymore. But I think this, out of all the scenes, is a prime example of something that really doesn't work about this movie, and it's this surface level approach to appeal to an older audience. A big part in why SpongeBob originally was such a success was that, unlike a lot of shows tailored for children, this was a show that was still hilarious and entertaining as hell for parents. And this was not a secret. Everybody knew that SpongeBob was a hit because everybody liked SpongeBob. And it wasn't because it was tackling mature themes on the surface, although I've analyzed plenty of fun philosophical ideas the show preached subconsciously. It was instead because it was self-aware. The show was, the writers were, the characters were not. The characters are simply used to tell a self-aware joke. They aren't the ones telling the jokes. That's a huge piece to why old SpongeBob was so funny, because it was using clueless creatures that don't actually exist to say something funny, whereas in this, SpongeBob and Patrick are like aware of things. They speak the way people speak in 2020, whereas before they don't know what year it is. It just doesn't work like that, in my opinion. I know it sounds kind of sad that a 23-year-old man is just ranting about SpongeBob, but it's frustrating. Apparently none of the original writers worked on this movie, and that makes total sense. I mean, it's sad and annoying that this universe has been turned into something basically unrecognizable and something so blatantly here just to make more unnecessary content. But the great thing is, even at 23 years old, I still get a kick out of those old seasons. Which is to say, one, that proves this show is really amazing, and two, we'll always have a lot of insanely rewatchable SpongeBob content to look back on. And I'm saying this because, in my opinion, SpongeBob ended after that first movie. It was a perfect finale, and not a damn thing that happened afterwards has come close to that kind of quality. Whatever this is, I'm just gonna forget that it happened and leave this here and pretend SpongeBob ended a long time ago. So I guess that's what I have to say. Thanks for watching. Go watch this new movie and form your own opinion, but I will say watching the original will probably be a better use of your time. And before you head out, I want to give a quick thank you to this week's sponsor, ExpressVPN. When you're browsing the web or doing anything online, you're sending a lot of information that's able to be seen by different parties before it reaches that final destination. It's creepy and unsafe, and nobody likes it. And if you want to avoid that, you should get ExpressVPN. A VPN, a virtual private network, reroutes your connection through encrypted servers to keep that information private, as it should be. As someone who's been online for a minute now, I can confirm that ExpressVPN is the best because of just how secure and safe they are with it. I actually would say this video wouldn't be possible without ExpressVPN because, as some of you know, Sponge on the Run is not available in the US until early 2021. And so in order to watch it, I was able to connect to UK Netflix and go about my day. Whereas a lot of content similar to Sponge on the Run is geo-restricted, where you can't watch it wherever you are, ExpressVPN allows you to connect to any region in the world that you want to watch that thing. Find out how you can get 3 months free of ExpressVPN by clicking on the link in the description or by going to expressvpn.com/Karsten.